Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So it's your boy Jay Will. It's time to revisit the iPhone 6. So if you didn't know, the iPhone 6 is still relevant, very relevant. The iPhone 6 is a very premium feeling device, nice and thin. On this side, you remember you have the power button and SIM tray that's moved now from the top. And on this side, you got the volume rockers and the vibrate switch there. On the bottom, they did us right by only showing that it's actually a one side on the speaker there. Headphone jack and microphone over there, charging sync, lightning cable in the middle. On the top, absolutely nothing. On the front, you've got the sensor there and a camera, 1.2 I believe. And on the back, you've got that nice 8 megapixel camera. Protrudes a little bit, and that was an issue for some people, but it proved to not be any problems for me. I don't have a problem with it. Works just like any other camera would work on a cell phone. So how's the iPhone 6 been holding up? Well, I'm going to say the iPhone 6 has been holding up pretty well. No issues with it. As you know, iOS is a very solid operating system, very fast, very fluid, and there's really nothing to complain about other than it being locked onto Apple's ecosystem. But Apple's ecosystem is a great ecosystem. Really nice, very fluid as always. Never any problems with iOS. I guess I shouldn't say never, that's kind of stretching it, but there's always going to be some issues with every operating system. But the fact of the matter is, the Apple operating system is a well-tuned machine, I'll say. Unlike some other operating systems, it requires some work to get them, to get their feet on the ground. And, Apple did that back in, I think it was 2007 when they first launched. So, with the iPhone. So, this has definitely grown into a great operating system, and it's still very easy to use. Not so much that it's easy, I guess, it's user-friendly, I'll say. It's just a bunch of icons on a desktop, so how could you go wrong with that? This one is the iPhone 6 in gold, obviously, as you can see here. And this is the 128 gig. Remember a video I did a long time ago. And this one's on T-Mobile. And so we're getting great LTE. Always have good LTE with T-Mobile. We live in an area where T-Mobile service is just fantastic, and a lot of times where I travel, T-Mobile service will drop to 3G sometimes, even Edge sometimes, but that doesn't happen very often. That's only when I'm leaving going to a different state or something like that. Sometimes it'll happen on the way, but pretty much the service is still fantastic, and the iPhone's holding up pretty well. This is kept in a case daily, so there's no scratches, no blemishes. There's nothing on this thing to show that it was actually beat up or anything. There's a screen protector always on here, and it's just holding up very well. The camera on the iPhone, I'll say, is phenomenal. The iPhone has one of the best cameras to date on a phone. I stand firm on that. I think that the front camera is phenomenal, and the rear camera, for it to be an 8 megapixel camera, I think they've done a fantastic job on the camera sensors and everything. They made that camera a real point and shoot, to where if you're not a photographer, you can actually pick up this phone, let it focus, take a picture, and it'll look fantastic. That's just my opinion. Again, back to the build quality on this thing. When you compare the build quality to other phones, you'll see that, the times are changing. Here it is with the Nexus 6. The times are changing, so phones are getting bigger, and people are wanting bigger phones. And so the iPhone 6 Plus was the answer to that. Unfortunately, with the iPhone 6 Plus, it just wasn't, didn't live up to the hype for me. Battery wasn't that great on the iPhone 6. Well, it's not, I guess I should say. It's not that good on the iPhone 6. But this battery, iPhone 6 Plus, the iPhone 6 battery is actually really good. And I think when I say the iPhone 6 Plus's battery is not very good, it's just that it has a 2915 milliamp battery, and it still needs to be charged pretty much every day, depending on what type of user you are. But if you're a light user, the battery is going to be phenomenal on both the 6 and the 6 Plus. But for the 6, we've noticed that the battery is an all day into the next day with heavy use. And I mean, when I say heavy use, I mean lots of streaming. Watching movies, things that use the network. Because if you're on Wi-Fi, the phone isn't working very hard because it's not trying to get a signal. But if you're on Wi-Fi, or if you're on the network, the phone has to maintain a signal, and then it has to stream your media. So that's a huge deal. The finger scanner is works a lot better than the one on the Samsung Galaxy Note. I think Apple's probably been the only one to get that right. And you know, please don't argue that, because this is just a quick put your finger on it and it's unlocked. With the Note though, you have to swipe it and try to get it right. It's just annoying. And so Apple has definitely done a superb job on getting this device to unlock with just the touch of your finger. It's just a phenomenal way to unlock your phone. It's very nice. These come in a 16, 64, and a 128 with 1 gig of RAM. Why Apple chose to just not get rid of the 16 gig and just do a 32 gig, 64 gig, and a 128 gig, it's beyond me. I don't know why they would keep a 16 gig. You know, they eliminated the 64, or they eliminated the 32 for the mid size memory. They should have just got rid of the 16 and added on the 128. I don't know, but if you're gonna get this, get the 64 or the 128. You'll thank yourself later. Because Apple, you have to unsync. You can take things off the file manager now with Apple, but you know, just having the memory there is definitely a huge plus. So another thing I want to touch on is while we're at home, we have extremely fast internet for Wi-Fi. So this thing works on the 5 gigahertz band, and it also works on the 2.4 gigahertz band. So either way, you're going to get really fast internet, especially if you're on the 5 gigahertz band. It's going to work really well. That's it, man. I mean, video capture, everything on this thing has held up pretty well. It's on 8.1.1, I believe, the last update. Yeah, it's on 8.1.1. As you can see, of the memory that's available, of the 114, it's still 88 available, and that's just sick, man. That's just fantastic to have all that memory. But, you know, the downside is that there's no card slot. So, and Apple will probably never get a card slot on their devices, man. I don't know why they do that, but they have their own reasoning. And I'm sure it makes the devices run faster. And, you know, hey, I'm not going to knock them for that. Another thing I wanted to touch on was Bluetooth transfer. Now, this is something that's really frustrating to me. I would like to just put my phone next to another Bluetooth phone and transfer the data. You can't do that with Apple. That's always been like that, and this is just a little annoying. The camera does not shoot 4K, but that's not a big deal. That's not something that should deter you from getting it. You know, iPhones are pretty cool, you know. They're limited in a lot of ways, but, you know, it's still at the same time, you know, they're nice to have. They have a lot of pluses. One other thing is that Apple has managed to get a fantastic device with specs from 3 years ago. I mean, this is a dual-core processor in here, clocked at 1.4 gigahertz. And there's plenty of other phones that have been out for a long time that had that, what, 2, 3, 4 years ago maybe. But they've managed to do it, and this is actually a pretty good package here. You can't go wrong. But it has a quad-core graphics card in here, the Power VR GX6450 for all the techies out there. Mouthful, but this thing can play some games, and it has been proven to do so. Some high intense games, graphically intense games, it can handle it. You can throw it at this phone and it will work, unlike some other phones. So overall, the iPhone 6 has held up extremely well. If you're able to get one, you're probably only going to be able to get a 16 gig if you're trying to get it from a store, because all the carriers are backlogged for like 2 months, which I just think is ridiculous. They're shipping the stores 16 gigs as they come in whatever color they ship. I don't think that's right, you know, but you can just, if you're willing to wait 2 months and you weren't able to get one in the first batch like some of us, go ahead and wait 2 months. But I think you'll be pretty happy once you get a 64 or a 128 gig. If you think that's overkill, I've heard some people in the store purchasing, they're like, oh, that's overkill, you know, I don't need 64. Well, go with the 16. But, you know, because there's a package for everybody. But I think that the memory, you might thank yourself later. You never know when you're going to be on that long trip and you want to get some video and then you run out of memory, you know. So, because the Apple operating system doesn't let you adjust any of those settings. You just have to shoot the video. And it comes out at the highest quality. And that's just what you get. I didn't touch on the size of the battery, but it's an 1810 milliamp battery. And it does last all day, like I said before. So that's it, guys. We revisited the iPhone 6, which is basically a little bit of the iPhone 6 Plus. I might do that in another video, but this is still a very relevant device. Even though it doesn't measure up to a ton of other devices that are out, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you buying it for? Always buy your devices based on your needs. Never buy a device on something that a blogger said online, or something that you read online, or something that you see in a video. You want to know about a device, go into the store, test it out yourself. Everybody has a return policy. Buy it, use it for the time frame that they allow you to use it for. If you don't like it, return it, then comment on it. Always do it yourself. Never, ever, ever believe the first thing that comes across the internet and people say, oh, it's got a horrible this, or this is great, because you might get it and think otherwise. So, that's your boy Jay Will. We're going to sign out here, and I just wanted to give you a revisit for the iPhone 6. Yes, it's still a high-ranking device in the catalog, well over a 9.5 in ranking still, and it is going to always be here. Fantastic. I'm waiting on the iPhone 7. I don't know. This is a very relevant device. Get one if you can. If you can't, just wait your turn. Order now. It'll come to you when it ships. All right, guys. I will see you in the next one. Take care.